Welcome back to Range Anxiety TV, and here we've got something new for you. You know how we love our EVs here, we love our Teslas, we love our Nissan Leafs with the F1 inspiration, but we've been given this car, yet another Nissan, to do some work on, do some development with a local company called Tokyo Prestige here. Check them out, they're up in Totnes, Mount Barker Road. Good imports, good importers, good people. There you go, there's a free plug for you. They've given us this note because they have a few. We'll go through what a note is in a moment. And they want to see what's possible. Now, this is not an EV, but it is an EV. This is what we call a hybrid. Okay, so we've got a petrol motor, we've got an electric motor with a rather small battery. Now, there are three types of hybrid. This is sold alongside Leaf too, by the way. So, interesting thing, and also it's a Nismo edition, but we'll get onto that too later. Get my magic wand out onto that. The way this works, there are three types of hybrid. There's a parallel hybrid, which is like your Toyota RAV4, Prius, etc., where you've got a petrol motor that can drive the driven wheels and the electric motor that can drive the driven wheels. Then we've got like what I like to call the hypercar hybrids, which are just a booster system like an F1 Curse system, such as is currently used in the spectacularly not super successful new C63S, where you've got a super fast discharge battery system and a grunty electric motor that tops up the power from the petrol engine, and they work in unison. And then, of course, we have what's called the Series Hybrid, which is one of Nissan's little sort of creations where, again, the only thing that drives the wheels in this car, the petrol engine doesn't drive them. Only thing that drives them is the electric motor, which in this particular instance in the Note, late model Note, Nismo edition, is an upgraded Leaf powertrain. Better than the old Leaf, which is just over there at a camera shot. Does quite a good job. So what does a petrol motor do? The petrol motor just acts as a genset. It's a little 1.2 3-cylinder petrol burner that starts and stops as you're driving along to keep the tiny little 1.5 kilowatt hour battery alive in this thing. So it's quite weird because your speed and engine revs aren't connected, so it feels really, really quite weird. You know, you can be driving along silently, then all of a sudden the petrol motor kicks in and then it will kick off again, and it really is really quite weird. But all that does is monitor the battery and keep the 58 kilowatt motor, the petrol one, tries to keep enough charge in the battery for the 100 kilowatt electric motor. We've just got a bit of band sawing going on in the distance. So yeah, lucky me. We'll stop here and then we'll get under the bonnet and we'll have a look at this thing. So let's take a look with the little bonnet up, the little stubby bonnet and the tiny little bonnet support rod here. My Space Wizard wand is big. Oh, yep, sticks to it, it's a magnet. Let's have a look at the mechanical layout and configuration under here. It's quite tightly packed. It's a very narrow, short engine base. Sorry, it's quite wide, but it's quite short. And over here is the little 3-cylinder petrol banger, 58 kilowatts of fury. Little airbox, tiny little mass airflow meter, nice little pipes. It's just a cute, quaint looking thing. And remember, it's just a generator that feeds into this bad boy and charges the battery. The actual Leaf power unit, the one that we've seen that Spiders like in the past, if you're a regular watcher, and that bandsaw starts again. Oh, well, we'll keep going, who cares? That's hidden down here. And it kind of sounds a bit like that bandsaw when it's on, but that's down the bottom with the drive shafts coming out of it. This thing feeds this thing, which feeds the battery. Now, as you might have noticed, and I mentioned earlier, we've got a Nismo badge here, Nismo. Now, unlike the Leaf, where it was just a sticker pack and some trim, this does have a Nismo sticker pack and trim, but they also had a higher output inverter, modified inverter, and a 100 kilowatt power unit in them. So if you bought the normal Nissan Note, you got 80 kilowatts, and if you bought the upgraded Nismo one, you got 100 kilowatts and a reasonable amount of NM, which actually makes some fairly brisk things on the road. combined fuel economy from what I'm seeing at the moment in our initial testing is you're getting about 3.5 litres to 4 litres per 100 Ks of fuel use. So it's not great, but it's not bad either because you do tend to drive it fairly briskly. Overall, it's not a bad thing to drive. It is light compared to a Leaf though. It's like some 400 kilograms lighter or 300 kilograms lighter, which does make a lot of difference when you're driving it on the road. You can feel it's a bit bouncier than a Leaf, and it doesn't have a bloody heated steering wheel like the old AZ0 Leaf did. That would have been nice because as you can see, it's wet and it's cold in South Australia at the moment. So, series hybrid, Nissan with all their new generation hybrids are series hybrids. And of course the Note, which is an import. They didn't come to Australia, but you can get them from companies like Tokyo Prestige, not Stellantis. Good thing, but I want to put it to the test and see what power it actually does make, while Justin shows you some lovely little Nismo features of the vehicle. And there's an aeroplane. Could you just go away today? Thank you. Whenever I make a noise, everyone wants to come and join in the party, apart from the little e-power. So let's start it up and you can have a bit of a listen to it. I'll give it a bit of a rev. I'll try and make that little motor speed up to charge this one, even stationary. So give us a sec. Now, I was actually flat on the throttle there. The car's warning me because I've got out of it and left the keys in it. I was flat on the throttle there and you can hear the engine doesn't really speed up at all because it's got enough charge in that battery. So I'm wide open throttle and it's gone about 1800 revs. When you're out there performance testing, running those draggy times, those quarter miles out on the open road though, you will get some revs out of this little fairly throbby 3-cylinder unit. But enough of this, I think it's time that it went on the dyno and we really stretched its legs. And there we are after those dyno runs. We tried it in eco mode, sports mode. That really makes no difference to the output of the Note as it really doesn't to the Leaf either. It just means that lower throttle openings you get less power, so it's easier to just cruise it around without using as much battery. But there is a big difference in power. Green is the Leaf at 66.6. I think it made 67 or something here, kilowatts. Comes up at about 100 Ks an hour, peak sort of gruntage area for overtaking, then kind of tapers away. The Note is better everywhere. So it would seem that this one has the 20 kilowatt up Nismo spec engine in it. Now combine that, I reckon the weight difference is about 250 kilograms between the two in favour of the Note. Combine that with the increased power and it is faster than a Leaf. So that, if you're looking to buy one, is something to think about. And it draws sort of like a better power curve. You can see that Nismo have been in that inverter and done the power electronics on it. Cast your mind back to the dyno run, makes a real interesting sort of buzz up, doesn't it, when it's running, because the engine comes up on full noise. It's putting all its 58 kilowatts into the battery pack, so the battery pack doesn't get depleted during the run. Eventually, because the engine is 100 kilowatts and the petrol engine's 58 kilowatts, and the battery pack's 1.5 kilowatt hours, eventually, if you held it flat out long enough, like say you're doing the cannonball in your Nissan Note, you would run out of battery and you would be reduced in power to 58 kilowatts, pretty much petrol sort of charge rate only. It would become quite a slug at that point, but they're not expecting you to do endurance VMAX style events in the Nissan Note. It's just a good little point and squirt car. So there you have it, there's our base. Pretty cool. We're probably the first people, at least in Australia, to have done this, but that's what we do. That's why we're range anxiety. You'd be pretty anxious about range with a 1.5 kilowatt hour battery in that little sucker. But since you've got that big 58 kilowatt petrol donk with a big tank of juice, you've got nothing to worry about. So let's roll up our sleeves and see what we can actually do with this thing. It's going to be difficult. And the answer may well be nothing, but you're going to find out if you keep watching Range Anxiety TV.